Okay, let's get through this so we can get to some work time. This is kind of, it says week 8. This is actually week 7, but this class is done. This is a 7-week class, so this is it today. I just wanted to remind you of a few things and then share some places you can have cool things made. So remember, when you're working in a digital workflow, your goal is to always work non-destructively, meaning you need to be able to go back to the original if you screw things up. And you need to be able to turn on and off the edits that you've made or tweak them later. So adjustment layers are really important. So a good idea when you're doing a digital workflow is to save a copy so that you have your original always. Make all of your edits and corrections to it. Then do your cropping and resizing. We talked about the reasons why you don't crop and resize first, how the proportions can be different. If you were to crop it to a 4:6 and then decide you wanted an 8:10, it's not an equal size, plus you wouldn't want to blow something up. You can always go smaller, but you can't get larger. So do a save as with a file name that's descriptive. Work on that copy. You're going to rotate your canvas, fix your horizon line. Then you're going to start looking at color issues. Use adjustment layers or smart objects so that you can do the other things non-destructively. Look at levels, maybe curves. A lot of you in your editing did both of these, and quite often that's not really necessary. One or the other usually kind of cuts it. If you can fix it with levels, you don't really need to do much with curves, or if you go into curves, just tweak 1 or 2 midpoints, not the black and the white point, because you've already done that. Look at hue saturation, your color balance, highlights, shadows, maybe adding a photo filter to warm it up or cool it down. Then start doing the imperfections. So if it's a portrait, start looking at your healing brush. And if you guys remember back to Photoshop, we actually did all those edits on a separate layer. And we did sample that layer and below so that all of our edits were non-destructive also. So if you cleaned up somebody's face to the point where they didn't even look like themselves anymore because they have freckles and you defreckled them or something, you'd want to be able to, if your client said, no, don't do that, you'd want to be able to turn off that layer or change your mind. Cloning, the healing brush, all of that, and then save that master file, if you will, as a PSD. So all of your edits are there, it's non-destructive, and it's the biggest file size you have. Then from there, you go, okay, I need an 8:10. I'm going to crop it to an 8:10 and save that version with a proper name and then 8x10 right in the file name, something like that. But don't do your cropping. You can crop out junk, but don't do your resizing till the very, very end. Save your full frame as much as possible. Does that make sense? Or any questions on that concept? Remember that if you downsize, like for web output, you're probably going to want to run that unsharp mask at like a 50% and do it a few times, build on it, rather than doing it once at like 200%. And then, like I said, go ahead and name it in the exact file size that you want. So, some different web resources. Online backup. You guys hopefully are using the Creative Cloud backup storage area. Maybe you're using OneDrive, maybe you use Google Drive on your own. Carbonite and Dropbox, have you heard of either of those? Yeah. Dropbox is a great way to share files with people too, especially bigger files. You put it up there, give them access, and they can get to it. Photoshop plugins and filters. These are kind of actions or presets of different looks and moods that you can apply to your pictures with basically one click and then tweak them from there. So if you're looking at this on your computer screen, it's probably a little bit easier to see, but you can tell it's darker. There's kind of like that vignetting where it's dark up here in the corners compared to the original. Skin's a little softer and a little warmer, and that was done all with one simple click. So these sites, if they still exist, and I have to be honest, I didn't check yet this year. Oh, they're just in maintenance mode. That's good. This On1, they have lots of really great stuff. Lots of presets. If you're a photographer and really get into, doing any kind of photography work, that's a worthy site to check out. Graphic Authority. They usually would have these amazing templates. Let me see if I can find one. Shop the templates.
So if you were doing senior photography, for example, signature player series, oh, come on, no thanks, just show me this.
You can see these sets like with sports where they have everything's done as a PSD file for you. So basically all you're doing is plopping in your photo and changing the text, but you're getting some really cool like sports looks, logos, banners. May or may not be of interest to you depending on what you guys are going to do with your future, but I thought I'd share it with you either way. All right. Magazines. Anybody go into like a Barnes and Noble and go over to the magazine section ever and look at photography magazines or Photoshop magazines? There's tons of them. There's one that I've always liked, but it's expensive. It's a $19 magazine, but it says Photoshop Creative. It's from the UK. And the thing that I liked about them is they always came, there's tons of tutorials in each one, and it had a CD with each magazine that had everything you needed for those tutorials. Plus it always came with like 10 free stock images, 10 free Photoshop presets, 10 free brushes, something like that. So there's a lot of value to it, and the tutorials were always really interesting. Some online training. Lynda.com, I've shared with you guys, and you all have access to that through the school. You guys know that. There's just tons of training there. Kelby training is now called Kelby One. Whoops, Kelby One, I believe, unless it's ONE. Yeah, Kelby ONE. So the guy that wrote our books that we use, they also have courses. He does. And some of these are, parts of them you can watch for free, others you need to have a membership. But if photography is really your passion or your strong point, it's definitely worth a look at this. So absolutely tons of things. We talked about Adobe Camera Raw. There's a whole course in lynda.com on using Camera Raw. So we just barely touched on some of the cool things last week that you can do in Camera Raw. And continuing to learn this on your own is really a wise idea. Okay, photo sharing sites. So we're on Flickr right now, and I think we talked last week, some of you have maybe, anybody have prints made anywhere? Or are we in a printless world, kind of, yeah. Where do you go? Shutterfly, yeah. So you can upload your photos here, you can share them with people, you can make photo books, posters, calendars, mugs, all sorts of different things. And some of these are quite cool. I'll just share. I brought in a few things I've made over the years just to test them out. Anybody heard of Groupon or anybody use Groupon? Couponing thing? So I follow Groupon, and there's always, almost always, a Groupon for either canvases or photo books or something at half off. And that's usually when I give them a test drive. So long ago, like literally 10 years ago at least, my kids are tiny, I did a photo book based on a trip that we took, and I just used their templates, and I'll show you guys this, or you can come up and look at them later. And it was just whatever, putting in all these different photos. But as I kept going, the thing that got cool was that I started to put in, well, here we go, big photos. So do you guys remember that buffalo chasing somebody up a tree, the motorcyclist that I showed you? So this is all from that same trip. That's how close they were. But actually I found that when you print a photo this big and put it in the book, it's pretty cool. It's like not how you normally see your pictures, right? So making a full-size photo book, I kind of wished I would have done more of those. But it was fun, and it was really easy to do. And I spent a lot of time putting them in there.
You made that?
Huh?
You made that?
Well, Shutterfly did. I uploaded my pictures, and they made this for me. So, and the cool thing was I did, once you make one, the second and third are cheaper and cheaper and cheaper. So I did one for all the adults on the trip. But that one I spent a lot of time putting them in order and thinking which picture I wanted to take. So then a few years later I got another one, and I wanted to do something for Father's Day, and I wanted to do something chronologically through the years, or through that year. And I started putting them in all in order, and I got tired. I uploaded all the pictures, but I got tired and I went to bed. And when I woke up in the morning, I got an email from Shutterfly saying,
we see that you stopped doing your book. Did you want to see how we finished it for you? And I was like, how could they get it right? They don't know. Well, the metadata in the photo has the time and the date, so they just put them all in chronological order, which is exactly what I was doing through the year. So I just went in, and some of the pictures that they had made the big feature picture that I didn't want to be the big feature picture, I swapped out. And this was just a really crap job, to be honest, but it's done. And then another Groupon I got was for a metallic lay flat book, and or I don't know if metallic's quite the right word, but this is on really thick, like cardboard, and it lays flat. So I just threw a few pictures from one trip on that.
They often have coupons for like free paperback photo books, like they're less expensive.
Really?
Like the grocery store, you know, the little print of the coupon printer.
Yeah.
I have coupons for free calendars, free like photo
Really?
books. Yeah.
Well, for Shutterfly, they give away everything.
Yes, they,
I
yeah.
swear. I
Cool.
read so many of those photo books with the hardcovers even for free.
Really?
Yes, shipping, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think you should consider it because we don't have our pictures in print anymore. They're all in our computers. We never see them. So if you do something fun this summer, even if it's just a weekend with friends, make a book out of it and share it. Give it to your friends. All right. Printing resources. Some sites that I want to share with you that I really love. MPix is one of my favorite. MPix is actually a Kelby company also, but they do everything from, if you want, well, as you can see, a photo blanket, canvases. They do nice prints if you happen to do prints for seniors ever, if anybody asks you to take pictures. They have really nice quality. The cool things that they do, well, the sports are always kind of cool. Look at the fun things you can make. You can make buttons and magnets and little statuettes that stand up that are like a cutout. And then these wall clings kill me. You guys know the fat heads that used to be really, I don't know if they're still popular, the full size. So you can make your own fat head up to 72 inches. So you could do whatever you'd like there. Wall art, one of the first things I had done from them that I really liked was called a standout. I'll pass these around, or I'll just leave them up here. You can look later. So this is like this light foam board. I don't know what it is, but it's light. You can hang it up, but then you can put a picture on the front, and it is three-dimensional, a little bit different on your wall. Plus, they can stand, which is kind of cool. So I got that one through MPix a long, long time ago. Lots of cool things here. So it's definitely a fun site to check out. These would open in another window. Adorama does almost all the same things. Bay Photo does all the same things. I'm just going to open a new tab so I stop screwing this up. White House Custom Color is one that I've used a lot lately. They're out of Minneapolis, and it says here you have to become a client. Let me tell you that it's as easy as filling out your name and address and just saying that you're a photographer. And then when you go to have prints made here, they ask you to upload files, and they send you back free several 8x10s and 5x7s on their paper in their processing to show you what your color is going to look like on their products. So, because this is like where photographers will send things, senior photographers and whatever. It's not a Walmart or a Shopko type of a print. But the cool thing is, like I said, you do get you get prints back right away. And my experience with them is when I've uploaded, I've had everything back within like 3 days. It's crazy fast. And really, really, really high quality. So, and they also do, like, they have special packaging that you can pay for. So if you got wallets for somebody, they could put them in this cute little box with a nice little bow. Like, they do the packaging that you would give to your client if you want them to. You pay for it. And they absolutely have the best customer service on earth. I had a package that got lost somewhere. It said it was delivered at the front door, and I searched my front door for days, and it was never there. And I'm like, seriously, it's not here. And they reprinted the whole order and overnighted it to me. And they're great. So definitely recommend them. Moo.com. Moo does some really cool stuff with business cards and other things, but they make small odd-shaped cards, and they're original thing that they were famous for was, where are they? Business cards. Let's go here. Lux Original Custom. Where are you? The mini business cards. These are half the size of a regular one. So they're a strip basically, which seems kind of weird. But the thing that they could do is on the one side, it's your normal business card, but on the back side of every single one of them, you could have something different. So if you were a photographer, you could have a strip of a different picture, a variety, on the back of all your cards. That's not something you could do at a commercial print place, like a normal print shop around here. Yeah, they've got some really neat, you know, square tags, whatever. So I like looking there. They have lots of fun stuff. Let's see, 48 hour, 4 over. I'll show you 4 over. I've had business cards printed through them and some rat cards. They also have you sign in as a client. So if you're doing work for people, you just have to set up an account. But they have everything from posters to packaging, door hangers, greeting cards, tear-off cards, you name it. And the nice thing is most of these places, okay, letterhead, that was a boring one to choose. Let me find something better. A door hanger. I don't know why you would need that, but just in case you're going to hang things at a hotel or something, a door hanger. They typically have, right here, templates. So they tell you the specs and they give you a template for it, so you don't have to guess how to set up your file. It's got the bleeds and the size and the cuts and everything. There's lots of places that print canvases for you. Canvas on Demand is the one that I like the best so far after seeing the quality of them. And almost always when I do these, I get it through Groupon, and it's cheap. So a canvas is when they literally print on canvas and then stretch it over wood boards for you. This shot my son took with our point and shoot camera, and I did no editing other than leveling out the water. The color on here is crazy. I want you to come up and look at it. It just amazes me what they can put on canvas. So these are cool. And then I also did a canvas, I forget what these are called, like a 1/2 inch wrap, but it has a stand on the back. So you can get them smaller as well. And then the other version that I got on Groupon, just to see what it looked like, is a metallic print. So it literally prints on metal. And it has this little thing on the back so you can hang it. And this looks really cool for, like, think of your HDR photos or metallic cars or buildings or whatever. It's also nice for, I forget what crowd I'm talking to. This makes no sense. I was going to say it's great for hanging in a barn because you can wipe it off quickly, but probably not a lot of you are hanging pictures in a barn. Different crowd, Brenda, different crowd. So it's cool. It's easy to keep clean. So, we did this one. Well, it says Canvas Press back here. That surprises me, but almost all of these companies that I'm sharing with you have metal prints also. All right. Digital scrapbooking. Anybody do that? Okay. So, a couple of companies that have existed, and if you were to just Google it, you're going to find what's out there right now. I'm going to see if this still exists. The reason that I got interested in this was not so much because I was scrapbooking, but I started to look in here on this shop page, and let me see if I can find shop by theme, holidays, 4th of July. Let's just take this one. So these are some of their digital scrapbook items that you could buy. So here's a Hooray for the USA collection for $8.99. And what you get in it is everything you see here. And the backgrounds that they give you, if anybody does scrapbooking, they're big 12 by 12 inch squares. So these backgrounds are 12 inch by 12 inch, 300 DPI high res images, meaning you could print them out for scrapbooking.
but I would use them as ad backgrounds or things for advertisements that I was doing. I mean, for $8.99, are you kidding? You get all this stuff. So I would get, you know, and then these, like the flag and the bows or whatever, they're either PSDs or pings that are on transparent backgrounds, so you can use them in any way you want, and they're reusable. So if this American flag background is something that I was like going to do a blending mode and screen behind another picture or something, it's cheap. For, you know, a few dollars, you can have all these different design elements. A lot cheaper than it used to be. The first CD-ROM that I ever bought with design elements like this, they were photographs, but they were like wood and tiles and cool things for textures. It was $300 for that one CD. Yeah, and I was thrilled at that price then, because that was affordable then. I mean, it wasn't affordable, but that was the cheapest, best thing you could get at the time. Back in the day. All right. Digital scrapbooking, yada yada. Okay, B&H Photo and Video. Anybody heard of that, or have I mentioned it? This is a company in New York that when I was working, when we had a professional photographer out to do some shots for us, he gets everything through B&H. So it's where pros buy their equipment, but anybody can. It's a shop in New York City, actually. So anything from computers to audio, telescopes, whatever. But cameras on photography especially, they have everything imaginable. They have great prices. And up until recently, and maybe this has changed now with those laws, but because they were only physically in New York, you didn't have to pay sales tax when you bought from them. So if you're buying a $1,000 camera, it's nice to not have to pay sales tax compared to buying around here. The other cool thing is they have this tab up here called Used, and you can look around on the Used section. So say you wanted a digital photography, you wanted an SLR camera, you wanted a Canon, and whatever. So anything that's used that comes back in here from a lot of these professional photographers will show up here. And the EOS Rebels are more of a starter model, but let's say you wanted a 5D Mark III. This is a very expensive camera. $1,600 for the body only used is actually probably a great deal. Yeah, that's a great deal. So the neat thing is they also have this item condition down here, and it says 9, and they explain that a 9 would be shows signs of use but very clean. Others are pre-owned but appears new, so you can tell what kind of condition it's going to come in, and this is a very trustworthy company. So you can actually find some amazing deals on lenses here if you're thinking about getting another lens for your camera. This one, B&H Photo and Adorama is about the same thing. It's another big camera company, and they also have a used, right up here, used to buy and sell. So you could go look up, you know, maybe a new lens that you'd like. You can find it for a lot less than you'd pay new. So those are a couple of good resources if you're shopping. The graphic tablets, you guys know from, we've used those in other classes. Wacom. Backdrops. If for any reason you would want to purchase a big canvas backdrop, there are places that sell those as well. So it might seem like overkill right now for you guys, but I know like the Humane Society in Sheboygan ended up buying one that was like a holiday themed one because they do pictures with Santa and the pets every year. So they bought this big canvas backdrop, and you can reuse them for forever. You just roll them up and take care of them. So lots of cool things out there. All right. So somewhere in Blackboard, if I don't have it there already, I'll put it there. I have a list of all sorts of resources from
lenses to getting things printed to cool stuff like this. And it's a link to all the websites, so I can share that with you. Look at the pretty bird. That's a pretty picture. All right. Let's do one last tutorial. And then I'm going to set up the green screen, and you guys are going to start making some funny pictures of each other as your last gig here. So get Photoshop launched.
I'm like, I really want one. It's cheap.
B&H photo.
B and A&D-H.
Dude, it's cheap.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff on there. It's really good.
You're welcome. I just gave you a disease.
Yeah.
That's very fun.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the audio recording equipment. It's really cheap.
Yeah. They have used for that too? Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah,
Oh,
they get
cool.
all the used equipment. It's like hundreds of dollars cheaper.
Like soundboards and stuff like that.
All right, everybody get Photoshop open. You can shop later. Go to chapter 7 of the downloads that we have. And the 2 pictures that we're going to open for this last tutorial are 7 Composite 1 and 7 Composite 2. So it's a girl on a gray background, and then it's the scene that we're going to composite her into.
That's what composite.
There's a chapters.
Yep. Chapter 7 of the downloads that we have from the last 2 weeks, we've downloaded them.
Dirty.
Yeah, I know, same. PSCC.